Welcome back, ladies and gents, and of course, thank you so much for watching. We're back at this 89 Softail, and me personally, I just love these older EVOs. I cannot wait to see how this bike looks whenever we start to, start to fix some things on it and start to make it look a little better. But we've got quite a ways to go. For today, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to start tearing it down. We need to get this thing down far enough so we can start working on this engine as well. But let's just jump right in and see what we can get done. Okay, we're going to start out with a super hardcore fluid drain here. Of course, this tank and oil lines have to come out. Get this thing off of here without making a huge mess. There we go. And this drain line right here, it is leaking really, really, really bad. So hopefully it's just a line or a clamp, but we will find out. Well, what is the problem here? This is supposed to be the easy part. Well, it's got some fluid. That's positive. Actually, it doesn't look that bad either. It's been so long since I worked on one of these bikes. I forgot that the transmission drain was on the side of the transmission. I'll get to that. Since it's hidden by the pipes, I'll do that later when it's on the jack. All right. Now we can drain the tank, because I don't have any extra fuel line. Let's see if I can pull this through. I normally use another line to do this, but I'm out of line. And I want to be replacing all this anyway. Boy, this is not wanting to pull through. Come on, there we go. Take this, I reckon I'll just take this thing off. Oh boy, that's on there. There it goes. This line is actually not, if you look at it, this line is actually not that bad. I think somebody replaced on this not too long ago. We might actually be able to reuse that. But anyway, into the lawnmower gas can. I failed to mention this bike has actually been lowered front and rear. That is why I had to use these boards to space it up some. But the good news is, it makes a short guy like me feel really tall whenever you're on it. So I got that going for me. Oh boy, it's pretty dirty. This bike is still dripping oil even with the oil out of it. One nice thing about these Softails, getting them on these jacks, is the frame on the bottom is nice and wide. And then you don't have anything from the motor or transmission like that hanging down to get in your way. And this Lapera seat that was on this bike, this is the bare bones. I think this is actually going to work perfect for this because it's going to go with the kind of the slim down look I'm going for. We'll get like a little patch kit to try to keep that from ripping anymore, and then we'll just take this 2-up cushion off, and then you can just mount them up right down here on the frame. I haven't even looked in these bags. Oh yeah, I've been in this one. Nothing in here. Got one bolt right there. Some of this bulky stuff off of here. Oh, those are already loose. I bet both sides are loose. Of course not. Why would it be loose? Since I said that. These are, or if I could do this, these are HD bags too. They're actually pretty nice. Would make a good set of bags for somebody. They're in pretty good shape. The little chrome pieces on them are still good. No pitting. The buckles look good. And they got lights on the back of them. So that's pretty cool, if that's your thing. You can see the lights on the back on this one here. Pretty cool. That one was, the wire was already disconnected. I think that's what explained why it wasn't working. And get in. Ooh, we got stuff in this one. Let's see what we got here. Looks like a cover, maybe. What I would think that is. Old cover. Looks like it's dirty, but it looks like it's in pretty good shape. Pretty cool. Let's see, we got a lock. Wow, that is a beefy. Check this out. That is an old Sears lock. You guys can see it on there. Of course, I don't have the key to it. What a shame. Boy, that is a beefy lock. Too bad. And some wiring. Oh, it is of course, it looks like a trailer pigtail. So that means I'm probably going to find some wiring up in the bike where this was hooked up. That is so cool. But we are going to be losing all the weight off this back end. I'm going to take most of this stuff off. We're going to end up with just a very slim little fender. There. Came off with these. Get these bag mounts off of here. We'll get to the hitch and all that later whenever we get this fender off. I'm just trying to get some of the weight off this thing. Man, this bike has got a lot of weight on the back of it. I'm already liking that white wall tire down there. I think it's going to go good with my idea, hopefully. Unfortunately, over here, the bags have been hitting this swing arm, and what stinks about that is this is color matched, which is super cool, but I'll just do some kind of I guess I'll just do like a gloss black or something to keep it simple. But that's fine. It's pretty minor. No rust. It's just showing bare metal, maybe a little surface rust. So not bad. This thing is going to fall on me. Sure it's not going to hit anything. It's going to hit the exhaust. I'm replacing the exhaust anyway. There it is. Oh boy. There it is. Well, that is heavy. I reckon I'll be safe and get this out of the way. We'll get these tanks off to see how bad our wiring really is underneath. This was already loose from where we had this off in the first episode. One thing about these split tanks is you got an extra crossover line. You got a full width that can leak, but there, whoa, I guess I better get something underneath there. But they're pretty easy to deal with as I leak gas on the floor. I hope it don't fill this up. Oh, good. That's fine. We'll just leave her sit there for a minute. Make sure when you do this, you're in a non-ventilated area like I am, because, you know, having all the doors closed for the good lighting is the most important thing. One's safety is secondary. This is definitely one of these good to have a friend moments for this, just because you are dealing with two gas tanks. It's not wanting to cooperate. Why would it? Why would it be easy? Well, down in the gas. That's fine. Here's one. And we'll get my friend out of the way here. That was so graciously holding that tank in. And we got some pretty good ideas for this tank while I'm taking this off. We're going to figure something out. We're going to get a new decal on there. We're going to do something. It's not going to be show. It's not going to be new, but we want to restore it a little bit to its original glory if possible. Okay, we should just come on out. There we go. I got everything leaking. That's perfectly fine. Had to take the party outside since the garage smells like a refinery. So these Pingle petcocks, if you guys don't know anything about them, number one, they're very expensive, and number two, they're really good. So I'm not going to leave this on here while we're working with the tank. I'm going to try to put this old piece of junk on there, assuming it'll thread, just to protect the opening. Of course, make sure you use the biggest piece of crap tool you can to remove a very expensive fuel valve. Well, if she'll go. There. Goodness, that one was on there. They don't need to be that tight, but it came off. There we go. See what this thing looks like here. We got we got some gross stuff. It looks like to me, oh, you know what that is? That's the liner coming out. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. That's good to know. The tank itself inside looks really, really good. So we're going to have to figure out a way. The tank doesn't leak. So we're going to have to figure out a way to kind of flush that out. But I'm glad I saw that. Oh, good. That works. Perfect. Now we got something to plug that hole with. Excellent. There. That'll work. Hey, we can breathe in the garage again. That's a plus. Got all the gas fumes out. So kind of starting over here, these are all the wires coming in for the switch housings and headlight, I do believe, pretty sure. You can see somebody's been in this, quite obviously. And I think what they did, I guess they shortened these some just because these are drag bars that are on here, but not sure exactly. But these butt connectors got to go. These right here can come loose. I'll show you an example here in just a second, but we are going to go in and extend these whenever we put taller bars on. They will be soldered, heat shrink with some new loom. So we will clean that later up down the road. That won't be that big of a deal. Of course, having the tanks off makes it super easy, which is great. And over here, pretty sure this is all factory. I don't know how much of this would have had factory loom or not if somebody removed it. So what we're going to do is just try to clean this up as best as possible for the stuff that we don't need to really tear into, and just try our best to inspect the wires and make sure nothing's coming loose or nothing looks bad and all that. An example of why I do not like butt connectors. So this is a wire for this vacuum switch right here. And I was just messing with the wires earlier before I started filming just now, and they just popped out, just came loose. This one, as a bonus, actually has 2 butt connectors on it. So we're going to try to go in and just not try, we are going to do. We're going to replace this, not replace it. We're just going to add some wire as best as possible. Solder, heat shrink it, fix these as well, because we don't want none of that going loose. But you can see there, these bikes will rattle your cage. I know they're called a Softail, but there is nothing soft about an EVO Softail. And that's exactly what happened there. Butt connectors are great in the right application. They work good, but on these bikes, I just don't think you want to try to run them. You're just going to have yourself a headache in the future. And then back here, we do have quite a bit going on. A lot of this, if you remember, we had the bags back here, as well as I'm going to try to figure out where the remains of that trailer harness were, if they're even here. But all we're going to need is wherever in here is the tail light and brake light, that's all we're going to need. So a lot of this is going to be removed and cleaned up and so forth. So I'm not as concerned about that. So now I think what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and just start working on this back end just to get some of this weight off the back, and we'll start with this fun little hitch and everything. This is definitely my first trailer hitch removal. Oh, this is all shaking. These are actually kind of loose. Oof. Looks like we definitely got some loose bracketry up here. Oh, this thing is heavy though. More weight off of it. Weight reduction. Check that out. And that is why you tighten your bolts over time. Uh-oh. Well, we definitely are going to have some weight reduction on this bike. Oh, never to be found. And take this off. Boy, these are heavy. Goodness. I mean, I guess they need to be solid for what they did. Oh, that's not the right size. Good grief. Ouch. A quick change of plans on the bike here with what we're doing. I wanted to go ahead and remove this rear fender, but I can't just yet. The reason is I want to get this wheel off first so I can take a look at all the wiring that's up underneath there before I just start cutting stuff. But I need to leave that wheel on so I can turn the engine whenever I'm doing the work on it. So unfortunately, that's just going to have to wait a little while, and that's fine. I've also decided to go ahead and spray the bike off, and the reason is just because everything I'm going to be taking off that engine to do the motor work. I don't want to take the intake and exhaust and potentially oil lines off only to have to tape everything off to spray it. It would probably be okay, but we're just going to go ahead and roll it out now and do that just to be on the safe side. Also, it'll kind of allow me to, spray these wheels off pretty good while they're still on the bike and all that. But let's roll it out, get it sprayed off. We'll get the bike back in the garage and keep tearing it down so we can tear into that motor. Well, if this bike was about a 1/4 inch longer, I don't think I ever would have gotten it out of that garage. That was pretty funny. Never thought of that. You can actually see right here where somebody had some leftover polish on there. I mean, somebody was doing some good stuff on it years ago. Back to the teardown. Oh yeah, it's coming off. I like it when stuff behaves. So this horn, I didn't explain. The horn actually does make a noise. I would say it's the equivalent of a faint mouse fart. So that horn is going to be tossed. I do not plan to replace it. So probably what I'm going to do is just paint this flat black and do something kind of creative with this to make it look a little better. I just noticed somebody double nutted this one right here. I know that sounds bad. I'm just calling it how I see it. Looks like they put a smaller nylock on top of another regular one. I guess it worked. Surely that's not factory. See if I can break that top one loose. Oh yeah. Surely that's not factory. I have no idea. Golly. What is the problem? There she goes. Do I need to take the horn out first? I bet I do. Yeah, I think I may have to. There. We got it. I probably should have taken the dang spark plug wires off first. I can't believe I didn't drop that. Remarkable. All right. I'm actually pretty happy with how this carb's doing. If it wasn't for my little hack job up here on the bracket, which you could see in the first episode, this thing's pretty good. But we're going to run it, I do believe. It did have one little hiccup on me, or one little cough on me. But you know what? It wasn't even fully warmed up, and I guarantee you there's probably a small intake leak because this back plate has no gasket up against the carb. It wasn't whenever I got it. And of course, these rubber intake gaskets, no telling how old they are. But they will be replaced. Come on now. Behave. Help me out. There's one of them. I got a bit of a dilemma. That one's actually hung up. I think I'm going to get this carb off the bike first so I can mess with that. These should not be that tight. Well, they are. I was wrong. That's what I get for saying it. There. All right. Now, what is the malfunction here? This has gone from crazy to super serious. There. Thank you. Like getting a tough hook out of a fish. All right. 30 hours later. These intake bolts on these bikes can be quite cumbersome if you've never removed them. Usually it requires, well, I think they make special tools. I just cut Allen's down, but I don't think I have the ones I originally cut. So we'll get these over here first. We can break them loose. There's one. And this Allen key has already been cut down before for something else. There's one, or there's the other one. And this is the tough one right here usually. I don't know if this is even going to go in there, to be honest. Nope, I don't think it will. I think we're going to have to do some cutting. And now let's see what we get here. This Allen key, I think I've cut this Allen key down. Oh, that's perfect. I think I've cut this thing down about 3 times now. And get some leverage. Hold that in place. There. Got it. Oh, that one's actually turning. Good. Get that. All 4 loose, just like that. Here's the other method I was talking about. So I got this Allen key piece. I forgot I had this. I probably cut this years ago for this purpose. I just don't remember. This one's kind of being a pain once I loosened it. I needed the Allen key to loosen it, but now that it's loose, I can put that in there, take a tiny little wrench, and just keep turning it. Makes it a little bit better than messing with that Allen key. There it is. There she is, all removed, and of course you can see where the intake gaskets go in there. It looks, this one might have had some leaks on it, don't know, but they'll be getting new gaskets regardless. And these pipes are the last thing we're going to have to take off before we can get to this motor. And these pipes are not going back on, so we're not just removing these to do motor work. They will be replaced. I haven't figured out exactly what we're going to do. It's going to be a cheap option, I know that. Oh, yeah, that was loose. This one's always mentally and physically challenging. Years of gunk and grime. I probably should have sprayed this down with some stuff first. Why would I do that? That would make too much freaking sense. There we are. One exhaust pipe. There we are. Neighbors are outside yelling at each other. Maybe I should go out there and start yelling. Since we're all doing it, right? This is a dirty motorcycle. But dirt and grease cleans off. Well, cleans off of some stuff. Well, we got what we need to get to the motor and get those cylinders off. And I want to go ahead and get some controls out of the way just because it'll help us a little bit. And also this stuff's got to come off anyway. And of course I got to remove this caliper to get the controls off. Now we are going to be redoing this caliper line, or redoing it. We're going to be replacing it because we will be extending the bars. But for now we'll just keep it together as one unit. I don't know if Harley did factory chrome calipers back then, but I dig these. Whoever did this, if it wasn't factory, I totally dig it because I just don't. If you've heard me before, I just don't like doing the chrome covers on stuff. It's unnecessary. But if you like it, that's cool. Just my opinion is all. Alright, that's out of the way. See if we can disconnect these crazy wires. If that's even possible. Boy, look at all these butt connectors. Makes me a little nervous. All right. Should, in theory, just unplug. There's one. Oh, I got other wires going. Not that easy. Not that easy, but we're going to have to track these down. Where are these going to? Oh, boy. All right, I think what I'm going to do for now, is we're just going to leave these in here for now. And we'll just let the switch housings just kind of hang for now, because I'm going to have to get into that stuff later. I don't want to start tearing into that just yet. That's fine. That'll work. Probably going to have to do a lot of this wiring on the bike, and that's fine. That's how I usually always do it. I don't normally have a bike tore this far down when I do handlebars. With all those butt connectors in there, my fear is if I go in there and just start pulling on wires and trying to remove stuff, I'm gonna disconnect wiring that's got a butt connector on it, and I'm gonna have no idea. Oh, actually can see it where it fell. I'm gonna have no idea where anything goes. Oh, you know what? This is hysterical. So check this out. All right, I think I may have found out my problem with my throttle, and this is definitely my mistake, but it was acting up before I did this. These little, I think they're called ferrules, or I don't know what they are. They go on the end of these. There was another one down in there, but I swear I took the other one out. I think there was another one in there this whole time, and it was causing it to hang up. Well, I hope that's the problem. That would be a great easy fix. That could have definitely been part of our problem, because that ain't supposed to be there. Where stuff comes off much easier than it goes on. Always the case. Usually, maybe not always, but in my limited experience, it does. All right, and we should be able to just reach through here. I think for these, what I'm going to do, since we don't want to mess with this wiring right now, it's such a mess. I don't want anything falling out. I'm going to change my plans here and just leave these bars on and just attach these like this. And also, I see why my brake light wasn't working for the front brake. This is just mashed in. I don't know if that's just hung up or what, but we're going to get to this stuff later. I don't want this to slow us down because we got the big things to do with the engine work. Whoa! Don't fall. Don't fall on me. Ooh. Don't drop it. What is the dilemma? There, we got it. Yeah, probably just needs to be adjusted at the clutch, maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. But this one is not going back on. This cable is actually too short for these drag bars. There. And then like the other one, we're just going to leave this on there. There's no need to even loosen this up. So we got this down about as far as we can go. And then, you know, for the wires, we'll just have to mess with all that later. This front fender, I'll tell you, it is one of the nicest things on this bike, which is kind of shocking. Usually these front fenders end up getting pretty bent up and tweaked. This one's in great shape. I'm going to definitely have to find a nice place to store this one. It's just too nice. Ooh, don't fall on me. Literally the nicest thing on the bike. I do not want to mess it up. That's good though, it's coming out easy. Perfect. Well, we can't get the rear wheel off yet, but we'll go ahead and try on this one. There it is. It is behaving. That is always good. Oh, even the axle nut threads have grease all over them. Greasy bike everywhere. Oh, come on. I probably should get the cheater bar, but why would I do that? That would make too much sense. All right. Easy does it. Let that just hang there. Hey, the end of this speedo cable right here looks like somebody dipped it in a tub of old grease. I think it's safe to say those wheel seals are leaking pretty good. You can see here, this thing is pretty gross. It's probably hard to see on camera, but it is absolutely, it is absolutely saturated. But it still works. The speedometer was working, so we'll just, do what we do. We'll clean her up. So the good and bad on this wheel, well, there's really no bad. It's just maintenance or wear items. The tire is going to be replaced. This tire is not as bad as the back, but it's pretty darn low. And since we're going to be replacing the rear tire, with this one being so low, it just makes sense. So we'll be replacing that. Seals got to go, as I called out. They are leaking really bad. I mean, there is just grease running everywhere. They should have probably been done years ago. But wheel seals are simple. Also for the bearings, the wheel spins very freely, very nicely, very smooth with the caliper off. So at a minimum, we'll pull those bearings out, inspect them, and repack them. But who knows? I might get crazy and actually put some new wheel bearings on. Don't know. We'll have to see whenever we get there. But as far as cleaning this thing up, there's really not a whole lot to do that's difficult. I will be pulling the rotor off like I always do, so we can clean the bolts on the rotor and get everything in there behind that. And then on the other side here, one thing to call out is this rim. Now, I pointed this out in the first episode, if you saw it, but this rim is just, I mean, there might be a few teeny tiny spots of rust, but it is spotless. So chrome cleaner is going to really just take care of that, or chrome polish, I should say, is going to take care of that. And for the spokes, we'll steel wool those good and put some metal cleaner on those and check the spoke tension. But other than that, it's going to go back on and look pretty good. Oh, and we will clean our hardware up. I always like to do that. So the axle, spacers, and all that, just to give it all a nice kind of fresh, clean look. But this thing's going to look pretty good, I think, when it goes back on. So that's a huge win. All right, I changed my mind. We're going to go ahead and pull these bars, these switch housings. I'll just attach them up here somewhere. And these bars are not going back on. Maybe use these on a future project. Come on, loosen. There. Well, these bolts are bad. I wonder if I can clean these up. These right here might be a candidate for a replacement. And I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why those screws were put in there. I don't know if that was factory. If anybody knows why those are there on the risers, put in the comments. I would like to learn. These are good bolts, though. They're just rusty. Just a little rusty. All right, let's see here. What's in there? I wonder if somebody did. Yep, that's exactly what somebody did. I think somebody added those in there to keep these from twisting because there's no knurling on the bar. That might have been a trick that was used back in the day. If you ever use this trick, put it in the comments. That's pretty neat. But dang it, that'll keep it from spinning, that's for sure. Neat idea. I can actually redo that because I'll be using the top clamp. So kind of cool. I can dig it. Got to have an extreme peg removal. I almost forgot about these crazy things. And on this peg over here, you can actually see where our brake lever is actually bent in, and this peg's actually bent up. I don't know if it shows it over here. Or no, bent down, excuse me. See that? So we're going to try to get some heat on that, see if we can get a cheater bar on it and just bend it back. It's the only thing I can think of. But as people sometimes say, that's a problem for another day. There, we'll just rest that there and pretend like it's not scratching the chrome. Removed. A few things that we noticed before we wrap up this episode, guys, and I noticed some of this stuff last night. So if you go back to the first episode, if you remember, we had the problems with the S&S carb, and it wasn't the carb. The carb actually runs fantastic. The carb is great. It's going back on the bike. The bracket, though, that kind of sticks up for the throttle and idle cables, the screw that went down in it was completely stripped out. So fortunately, we found something that worked, Loctited the heck out of it, and I think it's going to hold. So that carb is going back on. The right thing to do would be to replace it, but this is a budget restore, a budget build. We're not going to go in and spend that much money on a new carb since it works. Also, last night I went to remove these guys. If you remember, there were little bullet turn signals that were on the side. And of course, I always noticed they were a little loose, but didn't think much of them. Well, when I took a wrench to them and literally started to turn it, it just fell out. So somebody used the wrong size, I guess, bullet signal mount, whatever you want to call it, the stud, and they just shoved it into this aluminum. So these threads inside this top clamp here are shot. They're gone. It's basically almost smooth. And it was the same on the other side. What I did on the other side is I actually took, the only thing that would actually thread into this and work was the actual bullet, the bullet signal mount piece that came out. So I was able to get that in there, used a nut on it, and then used lots of Loctite. So hopefully that holds. That is unfortunate. That's what happens when you take a steel bolt and you force it into aluminum threads like that. They just don't, it doesn't work. The outcome is always the same. But, you know, I could probably find another one of these clamps on eBay, but, you know, it just doesn't make sense. I don't want to spend the money on it, you know, because this thing is still going to work. And the last thing is the wiring. So I've talked about the wiring. We're going to have to go in and replace all these butt connectors as it is for these switch housings, so that's not a big deal. If you remember the electronic switch here, this vacuum switch, we actually had one of the butt connectors came apart, which I'm glad I noticed because you need that for the bike to run right. We'll fix that. But also on this signal, if you look at this signal wire that was going right up here, it actually had this wire. And if I can do this with one hand, this one right here was actually heat shrinked, but it was just bare wire. And when I went to tug on it just a little bit, it just came right out. So the reason I'm showing you that is because I'm going to go through every single wire on this bike. We're going to trace through it. Not going to put it all on camera, of course, but we'll put some of it. Like, for example, this right here, where all this electrical tape, we're going to pull all this apart and see if this stuff needs to be addressed, because I would not be shocked if there's a lot more wires through here that are just about ready to come apart. And what we don't want is for somebody to get this bike, you know, go running down the highway on it, getting lots of vibration, and all of a sudden you start losing things. And you're going to lose stuff because stuff's going to vibrate loose. But we will get that fixed. I'm not worried about that. Electrical is a pain in the butt, but it's not necessarily difficult. It's just a patience thing, and it certainly isn't expensive. So that is good. Well, as I said, guys, we're going to wrap this episode up right here. We've made some progress on the bike, getting it tore down, but of course we came across some things that we really didn't want to see. But you know what? It's a 36-year-old bike. Something's bound to happen, and we'll get it all fixed. It's not going to be a problem. Next, we're going to move on to this engine. We want to get this top end off so we can get all the gaskets back on and stop all those leaks. So if you want to catch these future episodes, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And as always, I thank you guys so much for watching. I'll chat with you next time.